Rick from Maniac Brewing here. Tim behind the camera. Today we're at our test facility in Down East, Maine. I'm going to show you how easy it is to make beer. Well, it's really not our test facility, where it's Tim's camp, but we're hoping that he can get a big tax write-off out of this. So anyway, what we're making today is a golden ale. So what we've got is we've got 2.5 gallons of water in here that we've brought up to 150 degrees. We're going to add a pound of malted wheat and a pound of light Munich. And we're going to steep these grains in here at 150 degrees. We're going to steep those for 20 minutes or so. And it's going to add some texture to our beer. At the moment, we've got 2 cans of pale malt extract that we've got sitting in hot water that we're going to add to this as soon as our grains are done steeping. See you in just a minute. Welcome back. Okay, so we've steeped our grains for 20 minutes at 150 degrees. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove our grains from the pot. We're going to let them drain a little bit. Some people will tell you to squeeze the bags out. Some will tell you not to. It's not a bad thing if you give it a little bit of squeeze or so, but today we're just going to let them kind of drip out. And so that we get all that goodness back into the pot. Now be sure to keep tuned on this channel, because we're going to have some videos on things that you can do with these spent grains so that you don't have to waste them. So now we've got our liquid, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to a boil. Once we bring it up to a boil, we're going to add our liquid malt extract. But we want to bring this up to a boil right now so that when we add our extract, we're not going to scorch it. So we'll be back in a second once we bring this up to a boil. Go. Okay, so we've got our liquid. We brought that up to a boil. We've shut the heat off. Now we can add our malt extract into it. The reason why that we shut the heat off before we add our syrup is because the liquid malt extract sinks right to the very bottom. So if it's on the heat, it's gonna scorch. It's gonna add a burnt kind of smoky thing to your beer. Not exactly what we want in a golden ale. So we're going to pull this stuff off, get as much as we can. If you're using an electric stove, what you want to do is bring this up to a boil, you shut the heat off, and you want to take the pot right off the element, because an electric stove is still going to have residual heat and it will still scorch. So we don't want that in a beer like this. Oh, this is smelling wonderful. This is wonderful stuff. So we're going to get all the syrup in there. We're going to stir it up really good, because we want to make sure it's stirred right up so that it doesn't scorch. Now, if you're using dry malt extract, it doesn't sink to the bottom. What it does is it gets kind of poofy and sticks to the bag, sticks to you, but they're the same. So if you wanted to use 6 pounds of dry malt extract versus 6.6 pounds of liquid, it's all good. It's all good. The beer's going to come out wonderful. So we've got that stirred up nice. We're going to put some heat to this little darling and bring her up to a boil. And we're going to boil for 60 minutes. Now, we're cooking outside, so we have a garden hose here. So when you start approaching a boil, you're going to get what's called a hot break. And that's where she foams up a lot. It's a good thing. That's great for our beer. It just can make a mess. So where we're cooking outside, we've got a garden hose here, so when she starts to foam up, we can give her a little squirt and knock the foam down. If you're doing this in your kitchen, what you're gonna have to do is shut your heat off, take it off the heat, stir it down, put her back on, and do it a few times until you get a nice rolling boil. See you in a minute.
Go.
Okay, so we've got a nice rolling boil here. Tim, come a little closer and get a picture of a nice rolling boil. Tim's the boil master of this operation here. He takes great pride in his boil. That's a great rolling boil. That's what you're looking for, to get a nice rolling boil. This is going to help break down those sugars into smaller particles that the yeast is really going to be able to eat. It's going to help us get a cleaner beer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our bittering hops. We're adding 1.5 ounces of Tettnang, and this is our bittering hops. So this is going to boil for a full 60 minutes. So we're going to add the hops in, and now is when we're going to start counting our 60-minute boil. So we're going to do this, and we'll see you in a few minutes with our next additions. Okay, so we boiled for 45 minutes. We're going to add our wort chiller now. I know a lot of you don't have a wort chiller. They're great. They help clarify your beer quite a bit when we're done. We're putting it in the boil pot now so that it sanitizes it, so that we don't have to worry about that. Want to tell you, here at camp it's been a little breezy this afternoon, so our boil's been a little bit ugly. When we turn her down to the heat that we want, the heat that Tim wants to maintain a nice boil, the wind has been blowing it out, so we've had to turn the heat up a little bit. So she's foamed up a bit, but we keep squirting her with the hose a little bit to keep her down. It's all good. It's all good. So we're going to have our last hop addition. We're going to add, with 2 minutes left to the boil, we're going to add another 1/2 ounce of Tettnang. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, so we're ready for our final hop addition. We're adding 1/2 ounce more of Tettnang. This is going to be for aroma. This is going to give the beer a nice smell. So we're going to cook this for the final 2 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to hook up the wort chiller. We're going to chill this beer down. It's going to be good. We'll see you in a couple.
Go.
Okay, so we've steeped our hops, our aroma hops in there for 2 minutes. So now we're ready to hook up our wort chiller. We're going to get everything ready so that we can put this little darling to bed and add our yeast. First thing we're going to do is take our hop packages out. We're going to let them drain a little bit. One thing you want to know is that cooked hops are very bad for dogs. Very poisonous for dogs. So that's why we have the trash can here to just throw away the hops. Some people like to put them on the compost pile just so that they're not wasting anything. But if you don't have an enclosed compost pile, you want to get rid of these. Get these out of the way so that your dog doesn't get into them. Very poisonous for dogs. So now we're going to hook up the wort chiller. And the way an immersion wort chiller works is it's coiled copper, 25 feet of coiled copper that goes into the pot. And it's set up so that there's a feed from the top or the bottom. What we like to do is put the cold water feed so that it feeds from the top. It goes down into the bottom. It's a little more efficient doing it that way. You can do it the other way. This is just a little more efficient. And this is where my OCDs kind of show up. So we just hook that up. That's the in. The out feed comes right in here from the bottom. Use a pot holder because these coils are super, super hot. get these hooked up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn the hose on. And what you want to make sure is you're not running your water too fast. The water coming out of this boil pot that's coming through the wort chiller should be about the same temperature of what's in the pot. If the water is too cool, you got to slow the water flow down. It's just more efficient. We can cool this down in about 15 minutes. So and as you see, as you go through this, we're going to have the cold water. We're going to take this, we're going to slop it around, move it around, just to get more cold water flow going through. As the water coming out of that wort chiller starts to get cool, slow your water down. It's going to chill it much faster. You're going to get a much more of a transfer of heat from the copper in the wort chiller through the water. So we're going to do that. This is going to take us about 10-15 minutes, and we're going to see a little bit when we put this little dowel into bed.
Go.
Okay, so we've had our wort chiller running for about 8 minutes or so, and we've got it down to just about the perfect pitching temperature for our yeast. We got her down to around 70-75 degrees, perfect temperature to add our yeast. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our wort chiller out of the pot. We're going to let all the goodness drain back in because we don't want to waste any of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dump this into our pre-sanitized fermenting bucket. So we're going to put that in. Oh God, that smells good. So now we're going to take and we are going to top this off to 5 gallons. Now, for those of you that don't have a wort chiller, what you'd be doing is you'd take that pot, pack it in ice, do whatever you can to bring that down to about 75 degrees. I recommend that if you can't get 75 degrees, as long as you get it below 90, you won't affect your yeast. But anything above 90 degrees is going to affect your yeast. You could scorch your yeast. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our bucket. I recommend that we put our airlock on there first. There's a gasket on there. And if you set this on your bucket and add your yeast and then put your airlock on, a lot of times what happens is you push that gasket, falls out, goes into your beer, and then you don't have a good seal. So we're going to put our airlock on there first, and then we're going to be right back. We're going to add our yeast and finish this up. See you in a couple.
Go.
Okay, so everything's topped up here. We got our airlock half full of water. You can also use cheap vodka in your airlock. You do not want to use sanitizing solution. Just either water or cheap vodka, because we don't want to use the good stuff. We want to drink the good stuff. So we've got this topped up. We've stirred it up. We're going to add a package of K97 yeast made by Fermentis. It is a German ale yeast. Finishes really clean, really nice. So this is, we call it the Narraguagus Tire Bite. It's a knockoff from Flying Dog's Tire Bite, which is a beautiful golden ale. We tweaked it a little bit because Tim grows Tettnang hops here out to camp. So we got Tettnang hops in there. This is going to be a beautiful beer. This is going to be something that we're going to swill in a few weeks as soon as we keg it up. So we've showed you how easy it is to make beer. At the shop, I tell people when they ask, how hard is it to make beer? I tell them, if you can make a box of mac and cheese without an awful lot of help, beer is easy. You've seen how easy it is. So, whether you make beer, wine, soda, or mead, we got what you need. Visit us at maniacbrewing.com. Find us and like us on Facebook. Or better yet, come see us at the shop at 325 Water Street, downtown Gardner. We're here to help you answer the question, what's on tap at your house? What's on tap at our house here at camp? Today we've been drinking a nice Vienna lager. So, cheers everyone.